The opening event of the 1987 South African Rally Championship, the Tour de Valvoline, introduced a new era into the sport in this country. With perennial champion Sarel van der Merwe now concentrating on his sports car racing career overseas, the championship this year is wide open. Frans Boshoff, van der Merwe's partner in crime over the years, has now linked up with veteran Springbok Jeff Mortimer in the awesome Audi Quattro S1. Now in his 51st year, Mortimer has never won the championship, and this could be his last season. Reigning champions Hannes Grobler and Piet Swanepoel stay with the Nissan Works team, and Serge Damso and Vita Bonafide remain with Toyota. Of greater significance, however, is the emergence of the four-wheel drive era. Following the trend in rallying in other parts of the world, Audi, Volkswagen, Nissan and Toyota have all developed four-wheel drive cars. But what is the advantage of four-wheel drive? Toyota Works driver Serge Damso explains.
Well, at four-wheel drive you've definitely got a lot more grip. Stopping power is a lot better, and it's actually quite pleasant to drive.
The pressure's on me this year. I'm not really a backup driver anymore, like I've been for Sarel van der Merwe for the last 4 years with Audi. So the winning is what the name of the game is.
Jeff, Sarel seemed to have a few problems with the short wheelbase Quattro, with the handling. Have you got that sorted out?
Well, this is a slightly different version with some aerodynamic aids on the car, and I didn't really drive the other car much in anger, so I can't make comparisons, but this one with the aerodynamic aids feels very good on the loose surfaces to me.
Jeff, you passed the half-century mark, so getting on a bit for a driver. Any thoughts of retirement?
Oh, always, but I think we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Nick de Waal, you finished third in last year's South African Rally Championship. You came in for a lot of praise. People like Sarel van der Merwe saw you as an up-and-coming driver. This year you're out in a four-wheel drive car. How's this going to affect you?
Well, I certainly think that it's going to improve my chances. The car is, very much better than the City Golf that I drove last year, as far as competitiveness is concerned. And we can only hope that the car is as reliable.
You've got a very experienced navigator with Spotty Woodhead. Is this going to help you this season?
Yes, no, I think Spotty has had many years of experience, and many of those years were in four-wheel drive cars. So I certainly think Spotty is going to help me a lot, yes.
Have you done a lot of practicing in the off-season with the four-wheel drive? It's obviously a big adjustment from a front-wheel drive Golf.
Yeah, I know, it's very much an adjustment. And I fortunately had the chance to do a bit of practicing in the Quattro, the old Quattro. This car we only just finished, so there wasn't much chance to practice in this one. But I think the practice in the Quattro helped a lot.
Hannes Grobler, you and Piet Swanepoel are the defending South African champions. How are you looking forward to this season?
We're looking forward to the season. I think with our four-wheel drive we can do a lot better maybe than last year. We only hope that we can keep the car together and keep everything together and get to the end of every rally and do very well.
It seems for this particular event you had to put the car together in a bit of a hurry. Is that going to be a problem for you?
Yes, I think so. We've only had about 4 weeks to build the car, and we haven't had time to make some extra spares for the car because most of the spares are handmade. We didn't have time to make all the spares.
What advantage do you think you're going to have by going four-wheel drive?
I think we're going to have a bigger advantage on the two-wheel drive cars because we don't have that much wheel spin than the two-wheel drive cars.
Is it going to be an advantage in the cane fields here in Natal?
Definitely, the road suits the four-wheel drive here.
After the now traditional spectator stage, this year held at the Exhibition Centre in central Durban, crews headed for the cane fields in the High Flats, Umzinto, Park Rennie area. On a sweltering day, high temperatures building up in the cars proved a major problem. In the early stages, it was clear the event would turn into a duel between the Quattro, Grobler-Swanepoel in the Nissan Skyline, the Toyota Conquest of Damso and Bonafide, and the four-wheel drive Passat Synchro of de Waal and Springbok Spotty Woodhead. The awesome Quattro, developing about the same horsepower as a Formula One car in race trim and with turbo wastegate pressure producing a distinctive sound, soon showed its potential. Mortimer and Boshoff lost a minute when they took a wrong turn. but no one doubted they would make up the time. Grobler and Swanepoel quickly settled down in the skyline and were soon showing their usual consistency. The Passat, car number 3, was also going well. The talented De Waal showed that four-wheel drive held no fears for him, and at the end of special stage 4, the car held a slender 1-second lead. In the next stage, however, a mechanical gremlin was to put them out of the running after an impressive start. Behind the front-runners, some tense duels were starting to emerge between front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive cars. Another veteran crew, Springboks Eric Saunders and Richard Leek, were also running steadily in the tiny Toyota Conquest. The pair were involved in a running battle in Class F with the Golf of husband and wife team Ben and Isabel van der Westhuizen. A puncture finally cost Saunders and Leek valuable time, and they ended up second in class. Local stars Peter Altesky and Tim Watson had a steady run. Cassie Gutsia and Wiley Harrington were starting to make up time after early problems, and the works golf of Johan Evertse and Steve Harding was going like a train. Evertse and Harding, in a Class E car, were eventually to finish third overall and take their class by a wide margin over Altesky and Watson, a superb performance.
Vanaf Leek. Hey, Trolli. Hè? Hey. Weiland. Wat is het dan? Wat vet heeft. Het is niet een tijd om hem te vervangen.
At the first refuel, service crews worked frantically on their chargers. At this stage, Grobler and Swanepoel led from Mortimer and Boshoff, but on the fast sections to follow, the Quattro was to come into its own.
Frans, I noticed you've got new headgear. With when you and Cyril were together, you had a propensity for tartan caps.
Yeah. We went on a Scottish rally in 1980 and bought those tartan caps, but for me it's the end of an era now, you know. And I'm rather partial to this cap, which my uncle won for playing rugby for Northumberland. So now he's capped me, and I'm going to be wearing it for the rest of the season.
As the rally progressed, Grobler and Swanepoel in car number 4 were overhauled by the Quattro. The pair, however, had a tight grip on second place and the Class B honours. It was a fine effort in an untested car and augurs well for the future. Altesky and Watson were still making steady progress, but there was no catching the Quattro, and Mortimer amply illustrated the advantages of four-wheel drive. Evertse and Harding were working hard, as were Peter De Waal, John Copeland in the Nissan, and Glenn Hall and Guy Hodgson in their Golf. With the Quattro out in front, the Golfs were running strongly, giving Volkswagen the advantage in the Manufacturers' Championship. There were problems, however, for Damso and Bonafide. A wheel came off, dropping them down the field, but by the halfway mark, the pair had fought back to third.
Frans Boshoff, for the last 10 years, you and Cyril van der Merwe have dominated South African rallying. This year, you're with Jeff Mortimer. How does it feel? How does the change feel?
Well, really, it is different. I was actually 8 years with Cyril, and but there's a challenge in it, in that I've now got to get used to somebody else and explain to him, get across to him what the route schedule looks like. And so there is a challenge in that, and I'm looking forward to that. And we almost got it right. I did take one wrong turn here, went down a road to see what it looked like. It was just full of cane, and we came back again.
Rallying is hard work. It's a sport that demands the utmost teamwork between driver and navigator. An in-car camera caught Evertse and Harding at work. The new generation front-wheel drive cars have called for new skills, and Evertse, like most top drivers, has learnt the technique of left-foot braking while keeping the right foot firmly on the accelerator. At speeds of up to 200 kilometers per hour on dirt roads, the cockpit of a rally car is no place for the faint of heart. With the right foot pressed to the floorboards, the Grobler Swanepoel and Mortimer Boshoff combinations continued to haul away from the rest of the field. But for Damso and Bonafide, there were more problems. For the second time on the rally, a wheel parted company with the car and put an end to a brave effort.
Well, the same problem again, that the wheel came off again. So there must be something, you know, a weak point there or something like that. And what's funny thing is it's the same side, you know, it's not on the other side or something like that, so don't know. Can't say much about it.
Cars like the Quattro S1, custom built purely for rallying, have been barred from the World Rally Championship for safety reasons. South Africa is likely to follow suit, with the ultra-expensive and sophisticated Class A cars being phased out at the end of the 1988 season. South Africa provides for some of the best rally country in the world. The national championship is held over 8 rounds, with varying conditions providing competitors with a multitude of challenges. Conditions range from the Natal cane fields through to the Eastern Transvaal forest and ultra-fast events in the Western and Eastern Cape Mountains. Not all events are held purely in daylight, and this adds to the hazards. Springbok Frans Boshoff, South Africa's top navigator with more than 50 wins, explains the challenges facing drivers.
Well, I can tell you that in this Natal event, it's very difficult for the drivers to anticipate what's happening because we're driving in cane, which is like driving along a road with high hedges on each side. And you can't see ahead and get an idea of whether the road's going to be sweeping or turning sharply. If you're down in the Cape or the Eastern Transvaal, the country is more open and they can anticipate that more easily. So they go a bit quicker there. Driving Natal is quite difficult.
Mortimer and Boshoff were assured of victory, but behind them, the Golf hordes gave Volkswagen a strong grip on the minor placings. Evertse and Harding were still going like a train in Class E. Gibbons and Cuffley had Class C in the bag. Hall and Hodgson had Class D wrapped up, and the Van der Westhuizens Class F. With 5 out of a possible 6 class wins, Volkswagen were denied a clean sweep by Grobler and Swanepoel in Class B. The Tour de Valvoline got the season off to a tremendous start. Mortimer and Boshoff and the Quattro is obviously the team to beat. But Grobler and Swanepoel, Damso and Bonafide, and De Waal and Woodhead showed plenty of potential. The battle in the Manufacturers' Championship, with Volkswagen and Nissan the major protagonists, also holds a great deal of interest. There is still a long way to go in the championship, and it all adds up to a superb season.